Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Ancestral Healing with Alida. In this episode, I'm going to talk about fertility. And fertility, I have come to this idea that triggers a lot of people, women and men, but mostly women. Um, I think that there is not a subject that can explain to you better how an unconscious pattern works within yourself than with fertility or infertility. In the physical body, that is what a regular doctor will only treat the physical condition, okay? First, that I think that is not treated properly. I think that there are different methods, different things besides progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, whatever they are doing. Those things I think that only limit the capacity of a woman to see all the options that she has. There was one thing that my grandmothers both we will say is that when you cannot have carry a child or the child cannot decide to go into your womb, it's because your womb is cold. And what they were trying to say is like some stuff that I learned from them. I think that my grandmother Rosita, and that is my mom's mom, she went up until fourth grade, and mi abuelita, my grandmother's Santitos, maybe second grade, but they were very wise. And for example, they live in different parts of Peru, but they will coincide. They will agree with the practices. And one thing is vaginal steaming, and people make fun of this. My grandmother Rosita will make vaginal steaming not only when you have PMS or when you had any problems with your menstruation, but also when we have any sort of problems with our stomachs. And when they call the womb is cold, I think that they say that because um, you have to have this frequency that is very high to be able to conceive this soul, to enter the soul, because the soul of the baby that you are going to have or that you want to have or that you had came into your womb and stay there for a little bit, and they say, okay, I like this mom very much, I will stay forever. And then they go back and forth to wherever they are coming from. And that's what basically a person will feel those kicks, right? Because they are coming in again, and the physical body of the mom is connecting again with the soul of the baby, and now the physical body of the baby's checking, is everything okay here? And when the womb is cold, could be for different reasons. It could be cold because in your family system there are very traumatic stories about a woman giving birth, because in your family system there are a lot of babies that have died stillborns or very early in life, or uh, any children or any babies that die. The other one could be that someone got pregnant in conditions that weren't no, I don't know if it's, I should say healthy, but if someone got pregnant because of a rape, if someone got pregnant, it was one night that she was drunk, that's going to impact too. And the other one is basically, and I think that this is a physical condition, is that when the woman is too stressed. And I think that the main cause of infertility, besides all these ancestral and energetic conditions, are a woman being too stressed because your cortisol is high, because a baby seeing a mother that is very high in cortisol doesn't want to go there, because probably when the baby is born they will start waking up at 2 3 in the morning. The mom will say like, oh, my child is not sleeping, I'm going to give him fake melatonin. And the truth was that she passed on her cortisol to her own child without wanting it and without knowing it. We are one. Are When you are pregnant, your child and you are one, and whatever your child is showing you after he or she is born is who you were, at least the mother, during the first 2 3 years, and then the father and the mother's in field up until they are 7 or 8 years old. So I did a constellation. I did a class, but I did a constellation to women the last week, and one of them I use. You know that I use peg dolls. I have different peg dolls. Actually, I have like these bags are full of peg dolls, so the person can put her hand right inside and choose the one that they want. Oh, actually, I got the baby. Well, I have several. I have like 30. And if I'm doing the constellation in a setting that is online, I will grab for the person and I will say, you let me know when I'm stopped. So it works the same. Well, the person that I'm doing the constellation for, she wants to get pregnant. She's 32, almost 33 years old. And when she brings who's gonna be the baby, who's gonna represent her baby, how is the soul of the baby, right? She brought this one. She brought this peg doll. And if you can see, I have draw and I have paint every single of my peg dolls, and I know what they mean. I know the intention, right? So this one is representing the baby that is gonna come. Okay, first that when we do doing a constellations, I always have a space, right? It's like this is gonna be the space where we are gonna work, and this is gonna be the space where you are gonna put your peg dolls. She put this peg doll without telling me at the edge, almost like 1 foot inside the space and 1 foot outside of the space. That's the first thing. The second thing is like instead of putting him looking to the future, to the present, to the mother, to the father, to the future, to what it is, right? What is happening now? She plays it like that, looking to the side, but a little bit towards the back. So something is he needs to pay attention to something that is still happening here. So I was like, what will it be? So the client doesn't know what I'm thinking at that moment. So I said, like, can you grab another peg doll? But I'm commenting, saying like, I want her to put another peg doll in front of this baby to see what this baby is staring at. The soul of the baby is still looking at something and cannot turn and see to his own mom or her mom. I still saying his because I feel that she's gonna have a baby boy. What she brought is this one. Do you see? This is a woman with a baby. Hmm. So she put it like this, correct? So I have these two facing to each other. And the story of this woman that I didn't know is this. Her mother, her biological mother, was conceived in a mental institution. So the father and the mother were living in a mental institution. And the mother got pregnant with with my client's mother, and they put her on adoption. uh, the adoptive parents never basically, I don't think that they allow the mother of my client to have contact with her biological parents because they were crazy, right? They were in a mental institution. So the baby, who do you think that this baby is representing to? He's representing to the craziness of her her grandmother, her my client's biological grandmother, or the grandfather, something with mental illness, correct? And the baby is staring to this one. Is staring to a mother who had a baby. So it's very obvious that this baby is not coming because it's still holding into information of a mother that probably hasn't been seen. But there is more. When I said to my client, can you bring a peg doll? But I'm not telling them. When I'm doing the session, I'm not telling them who they are bringing to the session, right? Bring another one, please. Okay. She brings this one. And as you see, I didn't put any color. I didn't do anything with this peg doll. It doesn't have a face. And if I ask you who doesn't have a face, will you name him? No. Will you know which gender or sex this one is? No. Do you know how old this is? No. Do you know who this is? No. So it's someone that has been excluded. My client is representing in his motherhood someone that is excluded, someone that doesn't have face. And who doesn't have any face? The biological grandparents. there is more. I like this. There is more. In her current life, she doesn't talk to her mother. It doesn't matter the relationship, it's the bond. Okay, but listen to this. So when I say, hey, how about your mother? How do you talk to her? And she's like, no, look at me. No, I don't talk to her. She's crazy. So she's excluding to her own mother, right? The same way that her mother unconsciously excluded to her biological mother. So this baby that is almost outside of the field, that is looking at this mother that is pregnant, that the baby is representing to a mental illness, and my client with no face are not ready yet to come and to match together. Because they have an entanglement. They have maybe a hidden loyalty, probably. They have an entanglement with another situations. So what we did is to go back and fix or heal the bond between her mother and her biological mother, because that was the source of life. But there's one more thing. When we, before my client was born, her mother was already carrying the eggs that she would use when she will get pregnant, which means that my client is still connected to her biological mother, biological grandmother that she has never met. She doesn't know her name. She doesn't know anything about her. They've been connected for years, correct? She carries that information in her womb. And I always say this because I have a good mom. And I really I I get emotional. I don't know why. I think that I'm a very good mom, with mistakes, but I think that I'm a very good mom. Um, so I think that for any mom, you activate your motherhood, that sixth sense, that unconditional love when you get pregnant, right? And more when you give birth, because you just see your child right there. You just push out this child. Or if you have a cesarean, it's also, you have to go through this transit to give birth, right? Of uncertainty, pain, whatever, however the transit is for you. So this unconditional love, I think that is present in every single mother. Even though in the mothers that are narcissists, even though in the mothers that beat up her kids, even though in the mothers that were prostitutes, alcoholics, and just because of the reason that they had a story and motherhood wasn't enough for them to change the pattern that they were living with. And that's their responsibility, correct? And so I know that this mother, this biological mother of my client, who had to give away her own child, um, she needed to give away her child, um, already with a mental illness, right? Uh, I know that there was a disconnection there, and there was sad from the mother, but also a sad that hasn't been seen clearly from my client's mother, right? Because every single child wants to nurse, every single child wants to nurse from her own mother, every single child knows the beats of her heartbeats of her mother, every single child wants to be cuddled by her mother. That's nature, and that's nature in a puppy, in a bear. That's nature, right? So I know that there is intergenerational trauma there. So coming back to this example, is that fertility will be very difficult for this person, because first, she doesn't, motherhood is being challenging. It's been challenging. I don't know if it's, you say challenging or challenge. Okay, it's been challenging for her own mother, for her own grandmother, and for herself, because she doesn't have a relationship with her mother. She, it's not a relationship. She doesn't see her mother as the mother figure. She maybe see her like someone who doesn't know, a friend. I don't know, but she doesn't see her like her mother. She doesn't feel her mother as a mother. She doesn't acknowledge that her mother gave her life. So we need to connect the person who wants to have a child with life, with the energy of life. And the only way to do it is connecting her with her mother. Now, there is something very important. Every time that a woman becomes a mother, with every single child, you have the opportunity energetically to relieve the sensations, the issues, the struggles, and also the accomplishments that your mother had with you. And that's scary for us all, because I'm looking at my mom and I don't like the way that she raised me. I don't like that she treats me. I don't like that she behaves. I don't like so many things about my mom. I don't want to repeat that. So it's better if I wait. Unconsciously, I wait. I don't want to be a mom. Or maybe I'm not a mom. The other thing is that we focus in motherhood only in the female figure. But fertility doesn't come from a female figure only. It comes from both, from a male and a female. And I'm not going to talk about gender, but you need a sperm and you need an egg. And they come together and then you have a baby. So I'm going to come now to the second part. So I have the other client. And the other client, it's super sweet. Like both are sweet, but I like her so much. So I said like, hey, let's do this constellation. But in the beginning, she said, well, my husband doesn't want to do the things. He doesn't get upset as I get every month when I see that I haven't ovulated, or when I see that in the test that I'm not pregnant. He doesn't he doesn't pay attention to it. Okay. First, that this client bring a peg doll for the baby. And she even asked me, she doesn't know that it's a baby, she even asked me, can I put the peg dolls outside of this space that you give to me that represents the field? And I said, like, yeah, if you want to. But I'm thinking like, wow, this is huge, right? So this is the field, and she put the baby outside of the field, completely outside of the field. Okay. She was inside of the field. So I said, bring your husband. But I didn't say bring your husband. I thought, like, bring another peg doll. And when she brings the other peg doll, her husband didn't have any face. We don't know. If you don't have any face, you don't talk about this person. This person doesn't exist, basically. So I was like, this is weird, because the husband doesn't have a face. The baby is outside, too excluded, right? I'm excluding someone. I don't let you into my field. But what it was keep coming, because I use the major arcanas to see the influences, right? She's doing something, and I pull a card to see who's coming, right? It was coming with the same figure, the male figure, but old. So I said, like, what about your father-in-law? But also I use my intuition, and I think that I'm very good with that intuition. I'm not a medium officially, but I just know things, or just say dates, things, and I don't know how they come to my brain, but they are true. Right. So I said, like, what about your grandfather? What is that relationship between your husband and your grandfather and your father-in-law? Sorry, your father-in-law. And she's like, I cannot even say his name. I don't talk to him. I cannot even say his name. When we did the dynamic to do the healing part, she just couldn't say this. That for me is very simple. I want her to say, let's say, James. That she needed to say this to her father-in-law. James, you were the best father that my husband could have had. Okay? This is fatherhood. She couldn't say it. She's like, I need to change that, because I couldn't say. He wasn't that. She was judging. She was judging him. He couldn't say something good about him. So that was very interesting. And also, I think that on her husband's lineage, there were like early deaths. But I think for me, the core was to work and unblock that fatherhood that she couldn't respect and that she couldn't accept. But then she told me that the husband was her husband felt or feels now that it was a very difficult relationship with his father, right? So we need to acknowledge both sides, masculine and feminine. That's the way it's gonna be, because a child always have 50% of the mother strength and needs the other 50% of the father's strength. So let's go back to the examples that I was giving in the beginning about infertility situations that I think that are linked with intergenerational trauma or with entanglements in the family system. What about if a mother, and I just saw a case last week of, I think that this woman was in New Jersey, and she had a baby girl. She only had two boys, okay? And she gave birth to the baby girl. And 2 days after she died, the mother died. Do you know the information that this baby girl, and these baby boys too, because I think that there was one that was under 3, but the baby girl, you know the information that she's going to have regardless conception, regardless motherhood, regardless fertility? She will have an unconscious pattern and an unconscious conception or idea, information, that motherhood kills you. So probably this girl is not going to have any children, or probably this girl is going to have children, but she's going to abort them, or she's going to have a lot of miscarriages. And probably this girl, when she has her period, she's going to have a lot of bleeding, because that's the way of your womb to clear the information, because I'm not clearing in my field. And this, my physical womb is still with the stagnation. So that's a very sad story, but do you see how we are going to carry that information? Even though she goes to therapy, if we don't break the cycle, it's going to be repeated. Now, I bet you that this mother didn't start with her. Something happened with the mother of this mother at least 2 or 3 generations up above. So you will say, hey, Alida, but I don't know who was my grandmother. Like my client, right? She didn't know who was the biological grandmother. It doesn't matter, because you don't have the information here, but you have the information in your field. So the field is always going to talk, is going to always express when we are doing the different dynamics. The field is this universal information that you have and your system have. That is not, you cannot see it with eyes, you cannot take notes, but once you put it in the context, and I say, like, I open the field, then you are there, and it's going to come with the body sensations, the way that you talk. And some people even will say, like, hey, I just remember this happened, because the field is bringing that information, because it's very important for that constellation, for that session. More about fertility. What about if I tell you that there was a woman who had many, 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 many kids, okay? But she fought so much with her husband, and she was very lonely during her motherhood, and she never enjoyed it. She hated to be a mother because it was too much, it was too heavy for this mother to leave her motherhood. It weighed her down. She didn't like it. What will be the information for the generations, for the kids? What is going to be the information? If you have children, too many children, it's not, you're not going to enjoy life anymore. Motherhood is very hard to do. So that's going to carry information as well for the future generations. And not all the future generations, or not all the members of a future generation are going to carry with the same information of the grandmother or of the grandfather. No, your soul has a purpose, right? When you come to this earth experience, you have a purpose, and you say, like, I think I'm going to connect with the story, with the story of my abuelita Panchita, of my great grandmother Panchita, and my grandmother Rosita. I'm going to connect with the story of my father, and those are going to be the main things, because they are going to help me to get to my purpose of life. The other thing is that, and this is a very very hot topic, but there are so many natural remedies for fertility, as maca, as selenium, as folate, as flor blanca, white flower that is from Peru, but I have it on my website just so you know. There are a lot of exercises that you can do with Kundalini yoga for not for fertility, but for your uterus, for that area. Also, we think that we are ready to be mothers, right? In my conscious right, like I'm 32, I have a job, I have a husband, I have a house, I'm ready to be a mom. Are you really ready to be a mom? Because if I have anxiety, if I have constipation, if I don't sleep at nighttime, if I fight with my husband every 5 minutes, are you ready to be a mom? Is this environment really um, inviting the soul of the baby to be with you? I don't know. What do you think? I don't think so, right? And so all these factors are gonna create information that you are carrying to regards fertility. There is this book that I always recommend. This book is I wish that I have read it when I was pregnant, but it's Spirit Babies from Walter Makichen, Makichen, and the other one is Babies Are Cosmic. The other one is Bountiful, Blissful. That's another book. So all these books, the first two books are gonna allow you to see how basically a baby will decide to come to you. That's all, right? And the other one is, I think that it should be a must if you are wanted to get pregnant, if you are already pregnant, and how to connect with your husband, with your partner in this journey. And so those are the things with fertility. I wanted to say also that, and this is another hot topic, is that every single woman in the entire world have or has two breasts. Correct or not correct? I think correct. Yeah. That are capable to produce milk by nature. By nature, you are able to produce milk. When you don't produce enough milk, when there is not this bond with the baby because the mother is thinking, is grabbing, it has something, it's hurting me, I don't have enough milk, I want to give the baby formula. It's the decision of each mother. But if you cannot produce enough milk, there's not enough nourishment that you're going to give to your child for some reason. So before I give birth, why, my idea, why don't you do a family constellations, or if why don't you do, well, for me it's family constellations, right? I don't know another therapeutic tool to do it this way, but why don't you do a session to see how you want your the nurture that you're going to offer to your child to be, and to unblock any unconscious patterns, any loyalty or any information that you don't want to transmit to your child. Because I personally think that the woman who cannot nurse her child is because there is a blockage. The same way that I feel that every single person who has been diagnosed with a physical illness or a condition is because there was an emotional blockage or an energetic blockage at one point, and now it's being seen. Right now, it has created a symptom, and so that's the other thing. Every single child is being born, and that's why it's so important. This book, the Walter Makichen, that I love, because in the Walter Makichen book, he explains to you how you can talk to the baby. Look, baby, I want to have this type of birth. Look, baby, I want you to let me sleep from 2 to 5 in the morning. Like, you can talk to the baby. It's not like you have to wait to give birth talk to your baby. Your baby's there. That's all is there. I want to tell you something, not as an example, but I think that is a good story. Actually, my birth was part of it was Allo Bebé, like Hello Bebé magazine in Peru. When I had my daughter, it happened that the person in charge of that magazine was my doula, and her name is Selma. She never make it to my birth, and she never make it to my birth because she said that her child, one of her sons, turned off her phone. But I told her I'm gonna give birth on September 20th, and I'm gonna break my water at midnight. So she said, like, call me anytime. Well, so I think that she felt bad that she didn't show up, but I didn't have any struggle. I just give birth, and it was wonderful. But that's what I want to tell you is like the options that you have, right? For example, if you know me, you know that we have this center in the Amazon of Peru, and we run plant medicine retreats with my husband, and there's 180 families there, isolated from any medical system, mostly. And I haven't heard one woman, not even one, with any fertility issues. I haven't heard one of these women having any problems giving milk to her children. It's not in their field. It doesn't exist. That's not an option. Actually, most of them, I guess 90%, 95%, they gave birth in their homes. So that happened to me, and I'm very glad because that's the way that I consciously wanted, but I guess and unconsciously too, is because my grandmother Santitos, that is my dad's mom, I if I'm sure, I think that she had 10 children, and she will say that she was very poor, and she will get these big bags, huge bags of rice. Rice is very cheap in Peru. And she said that she will know that she will need to give birth. So she will put two of these bags, one or three on top, several blankets, and she will sit there and push the baby. And she said, like, when you push the baby, you have to breathe out. I remember she saying that. So I had that in my field, that 10 babies, 10 of my uncles, including my father, were born in their own home, in their own house. In the opposite, my abuelita, my grandmother Rosita, she had four girls. I think that she lost one child, that it was a male, but that's the information for another podcast, I think. And I think that she had two home births, and then the other two, including my mom, was in a hospital, but vaginally, without the epidural. And in the opposite, my mom was stuck with the system, and she believed everything that of what her doctor said, and she had a cesarean, and her uterus wasn't expanding or something, so she needed to stay in bed for the whole time that she was carrying me. And I was born on March 30th. In Peru, you have a lot of earthquakes, but she freaks out about the earthquakes. So she stood up and she ran downstairs, and she started bleeding, and blah blah blah. Here I am. She never nursed me because they left a cotton ball in my mom's uterus in her womb, and she got an infection. So they say, like, you're gonna take antibiotics so you cannot nurse your daughter. So all the things added to my life, right? But as my friend Jessica from Miss Fortune Ministries, she knows I have my North Node in Cancer. My purpose in life is to be a mother, to nurture my breast. Me is a motherhood, right? So when I was at that point, I was still a lawyer working for the mining department in Peru, and I had a doctor. I have a health insurance. So when I was 4 months pregnant, I said, like, look, I don't want to come to the hospital. I want to know if you can come to my house. I know the exact day and the exact time when I'm going to break my water. And he said that no, because he was the pilot of this airplane, me, I'm on the airplane. So that was like grandmother stories. And I had a beautiful home birth. At the time that I said that I will deliver my daughter, I nursed too much, but I didn't put any other option in my brain. And that's another thing. Of course, that information came to me naturally, instinctively, instinctive, well, with my instincts, because I had information from my both grandmothers, kind of, right, to have natural birth and of nursing. And but also it put, I think that I put a lot of weight on my shoulders, judging to my mother for not having a home birth or a vaginal birth and for not nursing me. So I wanted to make it different. And when you try to make it different, you put weight on you and you make it harder for you. Well, I hope that this was helpful for everyone. I offer family constellation sessions in person or online. I have different episodes on Spotify, but also on YouTube. And I have candles. I have four type of candles for ancestral healing, ancestors, inner child healing, new beginnings, and letting go. They are on my website, unscented, just with crystals, soy wax. And if you really like this episode, please give it a like, share it with someone, follow me on Instagram, I am Mama Alida, follow my husband, Ayahuasca Foundation, and thank you. Thank you for staying with me for these 36 minutes.